On today's Remington's Inside the Industry, I'm sitting down with Safari Classics' Dave Fulson. And you'll have to trust me on this. Dave is the most serious and knowledgeable turkey hunter I have ever met. We're about to take an in-depth look at the bird, the industry this species has built, and the hard-learned lessons that have made Dave a true authority on hunting this iconic American game bird. And before we're done, I bet Dave and I will get around to talking shotguns. This podcast is brought to you by Remington Firearms. For more information on the new era of Remington, visit our site at remarms.com. Good to go? Okay. Alrighty then. Sitting down today with my friend Dave Fulson. Dave is a writer, TV host, former guide, outfitter, videographer, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Welcome, Dave.
Master of turkey hunting.
I was just going to correct that, master of turkey hunting. But you've never invited me to turkey hunt, so I'm going to just have to take your word on it.
It's just all myth in your mind
Yeah, exactly.
until proven differently.
Until proven differently.
We're going to make a plan on that.
All right, perfect. Dave, you've hunted elephant, lion, buffalo, grizzly, brown bear. You've hunted almost everything there is. Yet, whenever I've talked to you, or whenever we've chatted about hunting, et cetera, and turkey comes up, your eyes open up, you get enthusiastic. It's like everything else is just not that important.
It's kind of like that turkey gobbler. I just know it's that time of year. I just go into full strut emotionally. You know, everywhere I go, I'm thinking about turkey hunting, and that's and you're right. Look, I enjoy hunting of everything, and you know, I've had a career in this business where I've never done anything else. Ken, this has been I have turned this in my vacation. I turned it into a vocation, you might even say. But I'm passionate about, you know, if you'll put me on a rabbit hunt, I'll have a great time doing it. But there's a few things, if you hunt as long as you and I do, that you learn that you just love to hunt. Maybe it's whitetails for one guy, or mule deer. Turkeys is one of those things for me. It's one of the hunts of my youth. You know, grew up in the great state of Texas, the best turkey hunting in the world, and started it when I was, you know, my early teens, and have continued to enjoy it up to today.
Well, I grew up in the Canadian Rockies, as you know, and turkey was not introduced to the Rockies. I'm not sure when it was, but it was well after my birth for sure, and probably after I left, because I didn't even know there was such a thing as wild turkeys till I moved to New York, upstate New York. And then there was this horrific sound one morning, early in the morning, just outside. I lived out in the country, and I looked out the window, and these frickin' birds are there flying around, running into trees. They are terrible, terrible flyers, these turkeys. But I didn't even know they existed. I just saw them on Thanksgiving table, on Christmas table. So, you know, I don't know that much about them.
Well, you know, Ben Franklin back in the day wanted to make the wild turkey our national symbol instead of the bald eagle, and there was a really lively debate, and old Ben was really a proponent. Now, I look back on it, and I can't imagine sitting down at the Thanksgiving table and, you know, with your family and friends and saying, you know, Lord, thank you for this bald eagle we're about to enjoy. You know, we couldn't shoot turkeys. We might be shooting bald eagles, but I think Ben was a pretty clever guy, but he got it wrong on the turkey, and thank goodness it's not our national symbol, although it easily could be, because, you know, turkeys are, well, they're found in every state with the exception of Alaska. And turkeys are truly, in North America, one of our great, you know, conservation through hunting success stories. In the 1930s, turkeys had been hunted commercially. There was no seasons. There was no bag limits on them, and commercial hunting took them down to, like, I think in 1931 they did the census, and it was approximately 30,000 turkeys. That's all that remained in North America. And today, through conservation efforts by a lot of different organizations, but certainly the Wild Turkey Federation, we've got over 7 million birds. And those are all conservation projects and initiatives that are not only thought up by hunters, but are supported by hunters, and bag limits and putting the correct seasons and the number of birds that we can or can't take. Teaching ranchers and farmers how to manage their habitat for turkeys, because turkeys, they can exist in a lot of different habitats. We've learned a lot that with just some minor adjustments on a lot of properties, that you can really draw in the turkeys, and I don't know anybody who doesn't think that's an asset to their property.
Well, look, I see them on even on Fallon's place. Excuse me. He's got feeders for them, et cetera, et cetera, and I've never seen him shoot any. But one of the things I want to come back to really quickly is we talk about conservation, yet I say this over and over and over again, that if you tell somebody that is a non-hunter that the greatest conservationists are hunters, they look at you like you're from a different planet. They just don't get it. How is it that hunters have turned it from 30,000 in 1930 to 7 million today? How have hunters done that?
Well, it is through support. Sometimes it's pinpoint support. Like say, I want to help fund a project with the Wild Turkey Federation, and you decide you're going to support that. Sometimes it's supporting management program on even the 200-acre farm that you're hunting. Say, we're not going to shoot them. We had a really bad winter last year, didn't have good poult production. We're not going to shoot them. But mostly, a lot of that money comes from the Pittman-Robertson's Act, or the Wildlife Restoration Fund Act, as it's called today. That has raised over $1 billion, and that is a self-imposed excise tax that sportsmen gladly pay. And when's the last time you heard that gladly pay tax in any other segment of the American society? I mean, we fight having to pay taxes, but sportsmen and hunters, they sign up for this program. So every time they purchase a new Remington shotgun or ammunition, clothing, archery tackle, there's an excise tax that goes specifically into wildlife conservation programs. It's not put into some general fund and ends up building highways or fixing potholes. It is a fund that was specifically designed by sportsmen to tackle conservation projects of all kinds, not just wild turkeys, it's elk, wild sheep, you name it, and they benefited from the Pittman-Robertson Act. But that is the story that's not told, Ken. The people just don't understand it. Even people that are supporting it, because today, if a guy goes in there and says, well, I want to buy a new 870 for turkey season, he is directly, putting money into that fund. And again, that is always, that's one of the shining examples, because you tell me another tax that Americans pay gladly and say, I want to sign up for that. And not only if you cut that tax, I'm going to raise hell about it, because I know where that money goes. That's what I call conservation through hunting, because that is entirely supported by hunters and shooters. Not just all of them aren't hunters, hunters and shooters.
Well, not just, it's everybody that buys anything. If you buy a hunting license, you buy a gun, ammunition, a bow, whatever it is, there's 11% goes to that tax.
And we're fortunate in the United States. We've got so many good conservation organizations. I've been heavily involved with Dallas Safari Club, which is kind of a blanket. I was on their board for a number of years, as you've served on their board. I was on the foundation board that decides where a lot of the grant money goes, and we support a lot of different programs. But there are specific organizations, like if you're an elk hunter, well, it's Rocky Mountain, elk. If you're a sheep hunter, the Wild Sheep Foundation. If you're a turkey, a hunter, the Wild Turkey Federation, and Ducks Unlimited, and it goes on and on. BASS. There's marlin organizations for fishermen that are concerned about, that part of our sport. So it's really easy to help conservation projects by joining and supporting those organizations that are working on your behalf to make our resource, not only to make sure it's sustainable, but that we grow our numbers. And wildlife, where it's hunted, pays its way. And it is a big, you go down like you're talking, going down to Tim Fallon's in the hill country. Do you understand what a unbelievable influx of cash, hunting is for landowners that lease out their land or provide guided hunts? And that's from everything but, trophy bull elk to, bull turkeys.
Yeah, but Dave, we're getting more on conservation. I want to talk more about turkeys.
Let's go.
What is it about turkeys that you are so passionate about? Why? Like, I've been hunting to Africa a number of times. I've hunted all over the place, but I haven't hunted turkeys. So what makes you so passionate about these?
Well, the first part of that answer is this. I have always enjoyed the sport of calling animals to us. You can spot and stalk, or you can sit in the blind and wait for, an elk to walk by or a turkey walk by, but
I can't. Some people can, but
well, I have always been passionate about developing skill sets that will enable me to make, whether it's a bobcat come in, a coyote come in. You and I have done a little bit of that, call some coyotes and critters, a bull elk, mimicking a cow, duck hunting, goose hunting. I enjoy all that stuff. I like being able to make an animal come through a conversation with that animal. I think it's an intimate way to hunt, and hands down. And I've called in screaming bull elk to 10 yards, and that's unbelievable. But I've called in leopards, I've called in lions, I've called hyenas, I've called bears in. Turkeys wins hands down. That thundering gobble, and when you've got a bite and you're working a hot bird and he's vocal and he's coming in. Not that they always come in like that, because sometimes they come in, your plan's working great, you don't even know it, but he's coming, he's just not making a sound.
look, calling is interesting because I've been in a duck blind before that I wanted to reach the couple of the people and choke them because they were over calling, and it just felt like saying, "Shut up." They're coming. Just keep quiet. Let them come. I'm willing to bet turkey is not different.
Well, overcalling has probably saved more turkeys than all the conservation projects put together, because they have a language just like we do, and I'm not a competitive caller. I'm a pretty good turkey caller. I'm probably a better turkey hunter than I am a turkey caller, but certainly I know how to use all the different calls. The number one key is knowing you've got to make realistic sounds, but you've got to know when to and when not to make specific sounds. Because I hear guys walking out in the woods. I mean, mostly I hunt private property, but I've been on properties where I could hear other turkeys and a caller, and I knew 100 yards away that this guy, there's a human turkey caller over there, not a turkey calling. But even good callers and guys that have won contests, I've hunted with them, and it's surprising how some of them, it's very apparent very quickly, they can make all the sounds they have. They're not turkey hunters. They don't know when to stop making the sounds, and they're making, because they can do a fly down cackle really, really well. They decided to go with that all day long. That gobbler hears that, and he understands. You only hear that one time. That's when that hen flies off the roost in the morning, and then she never makes that sound again. The science of knowing what sounds turkey make, when they make them, and getting into the psyche of a gobbler.
What about the species? Is there a different call from different species, or is it pretty standard?
Well, look, in North America, Ken, the Grand Slam, and there is comprised of the Rio Grande turkeys, which we have here in Texas, in Oklahoma and Kansas. There's the Eastern wild turkeys that extend all the way, into Georgia. You have the Osceolas, which are subspecies that's mainly found in Florida, and then you have the Merriams, the mountain turkeys that you find throughout the Rockies and stuff. And they do have similar characteristics, but each of them a little bit different. I found like the Merriams especially probably more specific. What works on a Rio may not work on a Merriam sometimes. I think the mountain turkeys are the hardest to call. But some people say Easterns. I don't think so. I think it's the mountain birds.
turkeys are one of the few things, I think maybe even one of the only species that I've seen that avid turkey hunters, they travel all over the U.S. They want to
Oh
find
yeah.
turkeys wherever they are. It's not uncommon for me to talk to somebody that's hunted turkeys, and their goal is to get a turkey in every state.
Oh yeah. No, I know. I've certainly not done that because I've never made it a priority to do that. But that's a pretty wonderful goal to have. I mean, get to hunt them in different areas and see different country. That's always fun.
But you have to go to certain places to get some of them.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
You're not going to get a Merriam here, I don't
Yeah,
think.
no, no.
Right.
You got to get up to the mountains and
What about an Osceola?
Osceola's Florida.
Yeah, so you won't get them here. So.
Yeah, and Osceola is the hardest one to get. Not simply they're the hardest bird to call, is because their numbers, they're kind of a finite reservoir of birds found in one spot, and the people that have them on their ranches know they can make a bunch of money, and they're expensive to hunt because Florida doesn't have a lot of public hunting, just like Texas doesn't. So if you're going to shoot an Osceola, you got to find your first part of that hunt's to find somebody with a property that'll either guide you or let you lease that.
So have you been?
I have never killed an Osceola, and I've had umpteen opportunities to do it, and it's something on our good friend Steve Hornady's daughter Megan. She and her husband just bought a wonderful ranch down there, and they are always sending me pictures of gobblers walking up and down their backyard fence, and I have to go up there. In the next year or two, I'm gonna try to talk Megan out of one of her big gobblers down.
I'm sure you'll be able to.
I hope so.
So look, as an expert hunter, caller, what would you say to somebody like me that's just starting?
Well, I think, Ken, somebody says, I want to go on a really good turkey hunt. Anybody can sit in a deer stand and have, the first time hunter could have, he could shoot the state record buck if the right one comes about the right time. But turkey, especially in the springtime, and look, I wouldn't shoot a turkey in the fall under any circumstance. I'd rather use my tags in the springtime where I'm calling them, instead of shooting one coming to a corn feeder or something like that. That's turkey shooting. We're talking about turkey hunting. But, Ken, I always say to get into the game, a good idea may be going a package hunt. And there's a lot of them, where you have a guide and they've got a property, they know their birds, you've got a competent caller, and you can learn, just like getting a fishing guide, no different. You can learn a lot by watching somebody that's really good at it.
But look, I haven't been on a hunt like that, but if you talk about the fishing guides, if I go on a fly fishing trip with a guide, for instance, he can give me a lot of hints, but you know what? I still cast it.
Well, that's it.
So if I'm with a guide that is doing all the calling, what have I really learned?
Oh, you will learn a lot. You'll learn about, well, that one's gobbling over here. Well, let's get up and go to him. No, and he says, no, we're not going to, and here's why. Or this one over here, this bird, we couldn't, that's the same bird you and I were trying to kill at 7 o'clock this morning, but he was with hens. And then at 10:30, you get on that bird again, and he says, now let's go get him. Well, why he wouldn't come earlier? Well, he had hens with him. Now he doesn't. So now he's going to be looking for hens. So that same big old boss gobbler we couldn't kill at daylight, his hens leave him and go laying eggs and dusting and eating, and now he's all by himself. I mean, you learn, there's a lot to be said by going with somebody that's really good at anything. I mean, you can learn a lot.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I've had conversations with people in many different things. The best way to learn is to go with somebody that's really good.
But let's take the second part. If you say, Dave, I'm not a guy, I'd just rather go figure it out myself. It is so much easier to do it today than it was when I grew up doing it. Because look, you can turn on the Outdoor Channel or Sportsman Channel, and you can watch some of the world's greatest turkey hunters doing it. You can hear the calls that they're making. You can, see when they're moving, when they're not moving, why they set up in this spot versus that spot. You can listen to the sounds they make. And even a step up above that, all the major turkey manufacturers now have podcasts, and they have DVDs, on how to call turkeys, where they'll sit there, you've got your slate call, and Will Primos has his slate call, and he's saying, now this is the cluck, Now here's when to make this cluck. Those things are gold mines. And so if a new turkey hunter wanting to break into the sport today, there is so much information out there by experts. I mean, people that know what they're doing and can tell you, I'm going to make the sound and then you make it. I'm going to make it, now you make it. And that could be a box call, a mouth call, a slate call, a push button call. There's lots of different calls.
Look, I think to me, going with somebody probably over and above everything to me, I would think you learn when to make the call.
Yes.
Not just the call, but when to make it. Because, look, if you make the wrong call or the right call at the wrong time, it's like making a shitty call to start with. Who cares?
Ken, one of the things I tell people all the time, do you want to hear a gobbler or do you want to kill a gobbler? Because you can overcall, and to be a successful turkey hunter, you better understand turkey psychology. And there is most definitely a thing, there is such a thing as turkey psychology. What makes an old gobbler tick? Why will calling a 3-year-old bird be more difficult than calling a 1-year-old bird, which is a jake, or a 2-year-old bird, which is a mature gobbler, but he's still in his first year of maturity?
To me, anything that survived a couple of years has learned a lot more.
Well, they have,
Yeah.
but turkey society. Here's let's just talk about, the spring. It's their mating season, so sex gets turkeys in trouble just like it gets men in trouble at times, and this breeding season for these turkeys is kind of finite. Usually in America, it starts around, April. The further south you go, it starts earlier because it warms up. Then the Minnesota season may not start till late May or so. The Fish and Game departments dictate the seasons to take advantage of, good calling periods. But an old turkey, now when he gets up in the morning, first thing he wants to do is breed. And we're talking a 2-year-old or older. The jakes want to do it, but they don't have the opportunity to do it. But they like to be around it. They'll watch an old gobbler and they'll shadow. There'll be 7 or 8 jakes shadowing an old boss gobbler with 15 hens. And there'll be even more satellite 2-year-old birds. They're kind of hanging around the periphery, and they're old enough to breed. And if they get a chance, to get an old hen off by herself, they'll do it. But generally what happens in turkey society is an old gobbler at daylight wants to be around hens. And he has probably followed hens throughout their daily pattern. So a hen, her job is to breed, make a nest, and protect her brood in the spring. Now, a hen wants to be bred in the morning. So when gobblers know that their best chance for a hookup is, in the first couple hours of the day, so they want to be around those hens. So they may putter around and follow them until the hens fly up into their roost. Turkeys roost in trees because they've got to get away from coyotes and bobcats and things that, critters that can get them. So when daylight starts crackling, you'll hopefully have done your scouting. You'll know, you want to be within a couple of 300 yards of an area. Now, if it's a gobbler with hens, you got your work cut out for you, because that old hen, she's going to sit up there and she starts just making little, beep, 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 beep. I'm just waking up and I'm looking around, stretching, flap my wings a little bit. Beep, 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 beep. She just saying hello to the morning. The old gobbler hears that. Now, you understand, you could take a kazoo and blow it, and he would shock gobble right back at you. He is fired up and ready to go. But the hens will finally fly down, and they'll kind of, and I'll take my hat and beat it on the ground, sound like an old hen. And when I do it, I do a fast cackle. I can't call in my mouth, but it's a kind of a fast cadence cackle. The hen will do one time when she flies out of the tree. Now, the old gobbler, he breaks into his glory. Well, he flies down, and he won't go into thick woods. He gets in a field clearing or out on a roadway or a sendero, and he blows up, and he starts strutting, and he's gobbling, and he's showing his colors. And a lot of people say, well, animals are colorblind. Let me assure you, turkeys see colors exactly like we do. I mean, there's a reason most waterfowl and all male birds are more colorful, because color attracts the females. It stimulates some part of them. And the bigger a gobbler is, the more he's got that red and white head and the big old wattles, and the more dominant he is, that's what a hen's looking for, a healthy gobbler. So in turkey world, he gobbles, he struts, the hen sees him, and she goes straight to him to breed. And he'll run around her a couple of times, and when she gets ready, she'll squat down, and he'll hop up, and I've watched a lot of turkeys have sex. I don't know why they ever want to do it again, watching it once, because feathers are flying, and it doesn't look like much fun for the hen, but anyhow, so he'll breed her. Now, she'll go off, and he's after the next one. If he's got several, he'll try to breed every hen that'll breed him. Now, the hen goes off, and she has to feed every day. She waters, she goes, takes her dust bath, and she will go to a predetermined place, and she will lay a clutch of eggs. And so she'll, she may have 10 or 12 eggs. And though she gets one fertilized every day for 14 days, all those turkey chicks will hatch on the same day. It's kind of a cool deal that nature is, so the old bird that you could not call off, and believe me, a turkey believes in the birds in the hands worth that sexy one over there in the bush, which is you and me trying to call him. He'll stay there. But now, an old 2-year-old bird that doesn't have hens, well, he may come sprinting across that field, because he's thinking, hey, this guy's busy over here. This sounds like a sweet hen over here. So, 2-year-old birds sometimes will run in where a big old boss bird, and, talk about, I use decoys a lot. And sometimes decoys are killers, but sometimes, when a big old stud bird walks in and he's been coming, he knows there's a hen out in front of him, and he looks down the lane, and there your beautiful, realistic hen decoy is, and he says, well, there you are. Well, he goes into strutting and gobbling and sounding off, and that hen may not even be looking at him. He may come a little bit closer. He'll go through the whole routine, like, are you seeing this? And he'll spin around, so she gets, and if your fake hen is not responding to him, he says, well, I believe I'm wasting my time. And he'll turn around and walk off. Where if you hadn't had the decoy, he's going to probably come into shotgun range and you get a shot at him. And so sometimes hen decoys are good. But I today, Ken, wherever in the spring, if I've got a hen decoy, I've got a Jake decoy. And Jake decoys are a 1-year-old bird. And I will, where that old guy may come in there and he, the scenario I just gave you, you called him in, but at 100 yards, he spots your hen and she doesn't respond and he walks off. If there's a Jake in there, now you got the jealousy factor, and jealousy gets men, no matter what our species, into trouble. And he is not going to stand for a wimpy little Jake potentially breeding one of his hens, and he'll come roaring in there. And I've showed you some footage we got, the last few years of big old gobblers just coming in and just destroying my Jake decoys with feathers flying, and hey, that's a lot of fun.
What it's speaking about decoys. I was on a hunt one time. It was a sandhill crane hunt, actually, and the guide had the shittiest decoys I've ever seen, and those sandhill cranes just wouldn't come in.
Yeah, they wise up, and I remember Ken, back in the day when the very first decoys, there was one called a feather flex. And it was this foam decoy, and it'd sit on a little stake you stab into the ground, and the turkeys had never seen them. Now, I don't think you could use one today because, turkeys get hunting pressure, and they're a smart animal. They learn from their mistakes. But those things, the wind would blow, and they'd just spin around on their little stake. But, man, I was hammering turkeys with them. I thought, boy, it doesn't get any better than this. I even have had twice I've had coyotes come in there and literally, I didn't even know the coyote was there, and he came in and grabbed them. One ran off, and one I shot because he had it down. He was attacking me, and I shot him. But today's decoys, like anything else, they've improved. You look at today's decoys. I can put them out in the field. I'm just telling you, I video, I don't just shoot turkeys. I video a lot of turkeys, and I've just seen hens come up and start beating up on my hen decoys because they think it's another hen. They don't know it's not part of their flock, and they absolutely think it's another turkey. I mean, yeah, these realistic turkey decoys nowadays, if
Well,
used correctly, are awesome.
I think the decoys for everything are, the more realistic they are, the better they are. These ones with the sandhill crane just were not realistic, and the cranes would look at them from a long ways off and just never come in.
Well, with these today, just a little bit of wind will blow them. Just a little bit gives them the ability to move and stuff. And I've got hen decoys that are chopped off. They're basically on the ground like a hen that wants to get bred. I've got some that are looking to the left, some are looking to the right, I've even put flocks up. Now, that's only going to happen if I know there's a big old gobbler, let's say in the southeast corner. I've seen him 2 days in a row of this field. I may go in there and put 3 or 4 decoys out. Now, I like to move around a lot, Ken. I mean, I kind of generally hunt turkeys like a bass fisherman throwing a spinnerbait. I'm covering a lot of water looking for a bite. And a lot of times I call turkeys like that. Generally in the morning, I want to be pretty close. I've done my homework. I'll know whether I kill him or not, or even get him to respond. I'll know I'm close to a roosted gobbler or two. But once they get off the roost and the hens leave them, those turkeys, they're just wandering through the woods looking for action. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm walking and calling. I'm walking and calling, just trying to get that
It's
one
kind
bite.
of like young guys going from bar to bar to bar.
Well, it's all it is. You are the more when fishermen say you can't catch a fish if you're afraid to cast. So I'm not afraid to cast a turkey call down every little hill or valley I come to just to see if I get a bite.
What about camo?
Incredibly important. I've told people, again, turkeys see color. I mean, they see it, and how I learned that lesson, years ago, I was guiding a guy and had a ranch full of turkeys, and this guy never hunted turkeys, was really excited about it, and I was working. I can just see this gobbler coming. I had a gobbler, he came out of a big old mesquite patch, and he, about 70 yards, saw my decoy, and boy, here he came, just on like a little turkey trot. And at about 60 yards, that bird stopped and stood straight up, and which is not a good sign. He spotted something, and he looked at us hard, didn't make a move. My guy had his shotgun up. He hadn't made a move. I told him he's coming. Get your gun up on your knees, and we hadn't made a whisper of movement, and this old gobbler spotted something. And I was so focused on him, I'm trying to look at my guy out of the left side of my eye to see if he made a mistake or he moved or something. I didn't see anything, and this turkey folded his wings and off he went. It was about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, same ranch, same guy, called another bird in. He popped out at about 100 yards. He probably came 40 yards, went straight up, and I thought, what? And I asked the guy, you didn't move, because I was sitting behind him this time. I could see the guy, I was watching him. And when he sit down, his pants hiked up, and there he
White
had
socks.
the whitest socks in the world. And both those gobblers saw that, and I've never forgot. They learned that lesson, so did Dave. I don't wear white socks when I'm turkey hunting. I try to tell my clients, and if you got short pants, yeah, you better bring some black socks. But they can see color. Now, a bald eagle or a falcon or something may be able to see further with better clarity, but nothing, and I mean nothing on planet Earth, sees his immediate surroundings better than a turkey. A part of it's their eyes are on the side of their head. They have a damn near 360-degree field of view. And it's that you maybe you got your call and you have to set it down. If he comes in there unexpectedly, or you got to raise that Remington up, hey, they don't miss nothing. They just don't miss anything. So camouflage, Ken, is utterly important. I mean, I think it's one of the most important pieces of gear. And there's a lot of good stuff on the market. You and I are both kind of cryptic, camouflage guys. I've been wearing cryptic for years, and I like the fact that the cryptic brand makes different color patterns. I've got some cryptic that if I'm in mesquite country or something, it's more of a green,
Yep.
and I really, really like that. Now they came out with some stuff a couple of years ago called Obscura Transitional, and when I first saw it, it's not a traditional looking camo, you know, but I thought a lot of the cedar country that I hunt would, and let me tell you, I have never, ever, ever, ever found a pattern, especially for Texas, and if there's cedar involved, which a lot of my country I hunt is, there's not a better camouflage on the market than that Obscura transitional. It's got the dark slashes through it. It's got green. It's got a little bit of brown, and you literally disappear into so many cover types with it. And when I say it works, because I've got video and I'll send up to those guys. I say, well, here's 5 jakes at less than 5 yards that spent 10 minutes around me and never even looked at me on video. I mean,
Well, and our gun is Obscura camo
well,
too.
I was just getting to that, and I said, so if you find it would make sense if you can find a camo pattern you like. What better advantage to have a camo pattern on your favorite shotgun, which is something we'll talk about here.
Well, we're going to talk about that right now
All right.
because you wrote just a great article about turkey hunting, and you were kind enough to say that if you could build the best turkey gun, it would be our V3 Turkey Pro. So maybe tell me about that, because it's kind of an honor to hear somebody say something like that.
Well, I am really, look, the first turkey I ever shot was with an 870, and then I probably shot 8 or 10 turkeys with that, and then I moved up to a 1100. I had 1187, and then I moved into an 1100, and just shot a world of turkeys. Now look, those were walnut stocks and blue barrels and stuff, which I'm sure that cost me a few birds over the years, because again, they can see the glint of a little bit of steel or a flash off. A lot of those, my old 1100 was had gorgeous wood on it, but if you flashed that thing and moved it, it looked like a mirror.
Yep.
And it saved a lot of gobblers. But now, we have the flat finishes. But the V3 Turkey Pro that Remington has, I literally got my hands on one. I knew another guy had one, and I got my hands on his, and I said that may just about be the perfect turkey gun. And there's a lot of reasons I like that. Now, first of all, let's go to the look of it. It matches my camo, because last year y'all put the Obscura transitional pattern. I hope you did part of it because I was begging you to do it. Say, this it's the best camo pattern. How great would that look on that Remington?
Well, look, when you do something like that, you have to listen to somebody that you really believe knows what they're doing. So yeah, we listen.
It fits in. I like it's a lightweight shotgun. Shoots and look, lightweight to me makes a difference because I move a lot, and you don't want to be toting a real heavy shotgun around. And I mean, this thing is lightweight. I wouldn't own a turkey gun if I didn't have a strap on it, because my hands are generally full of decoys and calls, and I have that strap on every turkey gun, and that's a good tip I can give to anybody. You're going to eventually have other things in your hands that you want to keep your hands free for, so have it on your shoulder. The barrel length is right on it. You've got the business end of it. You've got there's lots of great shot shells and stuff, and I've experimented with all of them, included the TSS stuff, which is really great. But you've got a headbanger choke tube on there that just gives a hell of a pattern. And I pattern my shotguns. I don't just trust. I know what my gun will do at 20 yards, 30 yards, 40 yards, and 50 yards. And if I can kill them past 50 with that gun. I just don't shoot them. If I can't get him within 50 yards, that I don't enjoy it as much.
It's kind of like shooting a Cape buffalo at 100 yards. You go, why would you do that?
Yeah, it's just getting them in nice and close is now you're doing things right when you get them in at 30 yards. And I'd say most of my turkeys are shot between 20 and 35 yards, 40s. And again, now this thing with that headbanger choke tube on there, that thing it throws such a great pattern, and I've shot it with everything from the TSS to I like 5-shot.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, 5-shots are really good. You even have Remington make some of these dual. They'll have some 4-shot in there and 6-shot. It's mixed. It's a mixed load, but a 5-shot has just been the sweet spot for me. It's like, why does one golfer really like that 7-iron over his 9-iron? It's his favorite club, and 5-shots. In a 3-inch Magnum, and I shoot all 3 inches nowadays. It just does everything better than a 2 3/4 shell can. I've shot the 3.5 stuff, and again, if you need
12 gauge.
Yep. If you need to shoot turkeys at 60 yards, you probably ought to be shooting a 3.5-inch something. But again, it kind of takes away. I mean, if you can't kill them with a good round of number 5s out of a 3-inch gun, then you're not doing something right. But yeah, that V3, look, it was hard to. I mean, my go-to was an 870, and y'all also have an 870 that you're also putting the cryptic on.
Yes, sir, we do.
And I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow to head to South Texas, and I'm hopefully going to shoot a couple of birds, and I'll shoot one of each, because I'll never turn my back on that 870. But the V3 is. Literally, and I told you that. I said that's about as big a compliment as I could say. If I could literally sit down with the Remington engineers and say, "Here's what I want you to build me," they beat me to the punch. They built right now. I mean, none of us are inventing any. From TV shows, we all pick ideas from. I'll say I like the way that guy did that on his show. I'll incorporate it into our show, and all kind of manufacturers are watching what the other guys are doing, incorporating without infringing on patent rights and stuff. But I'd keep an eye on your competitors, because they're going to be trying to copy this gun. It is.
Look, it's been around for a while, but you and I were talking about something earlier that was interesting. We're talking about shotguns, turkey, and whoever wrote it said something to the effect that, yeah, these are all great guns, but collectively they haven't killed more than the 870 all by itself.
I would say that's a very accurate. I mean, Lord, how long has the 870 been around?
Almost 70 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And in my dad's day and stuff, your dad's turkey gun was whatever his waterfowl gun was. It was generally a 12 gauge, and if it will work on a big mallard, well, that's what he had, and that's what he shot with. And I could still take the guns I started out with tomorrow and go shoot turkeys with them. But I'm kind of I'm a gear guy to some degree, and I'm always looking for a better mousetrap. I mean, again, Ken, we have created an entire industry. Now think about this, an entire industry dedicated to turkeys, which is pretty cool. And that's shotguns, that's shells, that's camouflage clothing, that's decoys, that's calls. It goes on and on and on. All of that to help us outwit a bird with a brain the size of an M&M. And most times he beats us regardless. So they say anything's fair in love and war. Well, anything's fair in love and turkey hunting to me. Any edge I can get from my gear to a call to a camo brand, if it's better than what I'm using, I'll buy it.
Well, one of these days, Dave, you're going to invite me with you, but
it's going to be next year. We'll absolutely do that, because I think you'll.
I won't hold my breath. You promised that.
No. Well, look, Ken. In my.
I'm kidding you, Dave.
I know, but in my past life, I've killed a lot of gobblers. But for every one that I've killed, I've called in 15 of them for clients, and you know, it's life can kind of get in the way, and the older I get, the fewer of my passions it seems like I have time to chase. And I kind of got greedy a few years ago with my turkey hunting because I would get invited to a place. Oh, you need to come hunt at our ranch, and I like to hunt. I don't like to just be the caller all the time. And you get down there and they say, hey, but while you're here, my son's never shot a turkey. Why don't you take him out and get him a couple of turkeys or something? And then you think, well, you called me down here to be a guide. I came down here to hunt for Dave. So I've done less, way less, but I do enjoy taking people that I know would really enjoy it, and I think you would. I think.
Unfortunately, what happens is that it's pretty common that people invite you someplace for something.
Yeah.
You know, I've been warned many times. Oh, so and so, they just want a gun.
Yeah.
So I opt not to do it.
Well, the place I'm heading tomorrow is way down on the coast. It's deep South Texas, and Saturday will be the opening for the spring season. Now, this guy and his son are the two most passionate trophy whitetail hunters that you'll ever meet. I mean, they've got a great property and they manage it. It's low fence, but they manage it for big whitetails. And, these guys hunt Africa, they hunt all over the place. But they just have, they shoot a turkey or something. He said, man, if I want to shoot a turkey, I'll go sit by a corn feeder or something, shoot one, and all that. But Jay knew what a fan I am of turkey hunting. Last year he invited me to come down there, and I took my cameraman, Jeremiah Bennett, who's also one of the best turkey hunters on planet Earth.
I know Jeremiah.
Yeah, and we went down there, and it's like fishing. And I'm an active, I'm a big bass fisherman, and in the spring, it's kind of like on a ranch, 90% of the birds are in 10% of the area, kind of like the bass and the spawn. They're pretty concentrated, but which means there's a lot of places on the ranch they won't be. And we had to blunder around for a couple of days. We found a lot of spots where they weren't, but then we finally found them, and then it was.
So is this the place you and Jeremiah were last year?
Yeah, one of the.
Oh, yeah, I remember the pictures. They were.
Yeah. Well, we had that. The first two I called, we peeked out around the corner, and I saw two old gobblers down the end of a long sendero, and it was in the afternoon, which they don't usually respond near as good in the afternoon as coming in. But anyhow, brother, I was looking at my binoculars, and I always wear binoculars. I tell them, turkey hunters from out east come out, and I'd be guiding them. They said, why do you have binoculars? And, because they may be hunting in Pennsylvania or New York or something where you can't see 50 yards.
Yeah.
In Texas, I can't tell you how many big gobblers I've found that, they were in a field 700-800 yards away strutting. I'm up on a hill watching. Say, okay, there's 3 gobblers in that wheat field down there. But I saw they were both big longbeards, and I literally, Jeremiah, he's got his stuff. I got 2 decoys under my arms, and we were just going into an area to set up for an afternoon hunt. I started calling, and somewhere there were probably 2 turkeys ran in faster, but I just don't know where. And they literally, there was no time to put a decoy. They heard it, and they came on a sprint. I'm telling Jeremiah, they're coming, and I'm going to shoot one. And so I just jumped behind the first tree. He got behind me, and I can hear him ripping open, camera case and everything. And he basically got the camera up about the time they arrived, and I think I shot the biggest of the 2 gobblers at like 12 steps. And,
yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah,
I remember. See,
that's when it works. When it works like that, it's a lot of fun.
Well, Dave, I'm looking forward to it. I think we got to wind this up now. I hope you're successful with your hunt tomorrow.
Well, I'm gonna have fun. I'm sure we're gonna have some success, but you and I have talked about this too. The older you get, it's not the end of the world walking out of the field without a turkey hanging over your shoulder. It's a lot more fun, but enjoying the experience.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that I tell people all the time. I don't care what you hunt. At the end of the day, you can have shitty hunts. You're just in a bad place, bad time. But if you're with people or you're in an environment that you enjoy, it's really not. There's no such thing as a real shitty hunt.
Well, and that's something I had to learn because I'm a pretty success-oriented guy in the woods, and maybe that's from a career in guiding where you're under pressure to produce. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy every gobble. We never know how many we have left to us in
No,
this world.
that's true. And I've become a. I used to be a pretty passionate shotgunner, and then I got away from it for a number of years. And but I enjoy I enjoy bird hunting probably more than big game hunting now.
Yep.
And I do because it's a little more relaxed because I'm not up at 4 o'clock in the morning walking through rivers and up mountains and down mountains hunting an elk. Uh, but usually I'm with somebody that I really enjoy with a few people, and it's just a lot more fun.
It is, and I'm gonna drag every ounce of pleasure I can get, but it's pretty easy to find in the turkey woods for me. And like I said, I'll be with good people. I'll have a good shotgun on my shoulder. I will.
And you'll send us some good videos.
I bet I'd say it's even money. I'll bring a gobbler back or two.
All right, Dave, thanks for your time. I enjoyed the conversation, as always.
Always same on my side. It's always getting. I enjoy talking about hunting with people that are as passionate about it as you are.